Hey guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make everyone's favorite breakfast sauce, Hollandaise. It is not too hard. It actually requires a little bit of finesse, but if you follow a few easy steps, it's really simple and you can't stuff it up. You need salt and pepper as always, 1 lemon, 2 eggs which we're going to separate, and 250 grams of butter, a pot which we're going to use as a double boiler, and a bowl. And that's it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our butter and we're going to get that in the microwave and we're going to clarify it. And by clarify I just mean melt. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our eggs into yolks and whites. And to do that, we just crack them. And then you can just tip it between the shells and you'll see it slowly separate like that. And two. That. Alright, we don't need these anymore, so you can either throw them in the bin, do something else with them, make an egg white omelette, who knows. Now, egg yolks go into the bowl here. Then we need, put the juice of half a lemon in here. Don't want any seeds in there, so just catch them. If you just juice it through your fingers like that. Pepper. And one thing I want to show you that I like to add to it that you don't have to traditionally, but it just gives it a nice flavour. It's just a little splash of Worcestershire. And that's it. Now, we've got our pot here. We're just waiting for that to start boiling. And as soon as that starts boiling, what we're going to do is we're going to cook the egg yolks out over the heat and use the heat to pasteurize the eggs essentially. Eggs, as they're a chicken product, contain salmonella, and it's really easy to get salmonella poisoning, especially if you're somewhere and you've got this hollandaise, because you can't refrigerate it because the butter solidifies, so it's ideally left in a ambient temperature. So really easy to poison someone, and that's not what you're aiming to do. So like one thing that I often talk about, I'm just going to mix these egg yolks and lemon juice and salt and pepper together, is that some people will sit there and they'll tell you that you don't need to cook the egg yolks out, and they'll use the heat from the butter to attempt to cook the yolks out, but it doesn't work. The only surefire way to do it is to cook this on a double boiler, and it's really important. I can't stress it enough, because you will poison someone, and that's not what we're doing here. Again, there's other ways you can do this with a Thermomix, with other machines. I just really like to get back to basics, bowls, whisks, and simple equipment. It's where cooking started for me, and when I started my cooking adventure or journey or whatever you want to call it, sentence maybe, some people might think it's a sentence, is that we had to do everything by hand before we were allowed to use any form of machines or electronics, because we were taught that we had to learn the proper way to do it. So now I've got my water here boiling. You can see the steam. Can you see the steam coming off this? So you can see the steam coming off this. Now we're going to put the bowl on here and we're just going to keep mixing it. If you don't mix it continuously, you'll get curdled and it'll just essentially turn to scrambled eggs. And the reason that we're using the steam is because it's not direct heat. If you put this on a hot plate, what's going to happen is the bottom's going to cook really quick and then the top's not going to be cooked, and it's just going to turn into a curdled mess. So we just want to gently bring this up to the temperature that we want it, which is above 65 degrees. So the eggs are pasteurized and we're not going to kill anyone. You'll be able to tell when the eggs are done because they'll turn color, they'll go pale, and they'll start to coagulate. Hollandaise is one of your 5 master sauces, of which every sauce in traditional French cookery is based upon, and it's very important to learn how to make correctly. So if you have a look here, you can see that it's starting to thicken and it's starting to go a lighter color. All right, so we've got that there. That's thickened, coagulated, nice pale. And as always, I think the easiest way to test if it's ready, doesn't go on your head. If you try that, I want to see it. We've got our butter here. Now, there's just something I want to show you with the butter before we go any further. So with butter, it separates into solids and liquids. So you can't really see in this. This is my trusty old faithful jug that has been with me for much time. And what you've got here, you'll see the heavier portion sits at the bottom, and I'll let that settle before we go any further. But we don't want to add these milk solids at the bottom. We're only looking for the clarified butter up here. Now we're going to be mixing and slowly adding the butter to the pasteurized eggs here. And if we're doing it like that, you can see the bowl's just going to spin. Absolute pain. Quick, easy trick that I've learnt. Grab your tea towel by the 2 corners, spin it around, make a circle, tie a single granny knot, sit it in there, can't move. Now you can see there that as that butter's sat, all the milk's at the bottom there. And that is exactly what we're trying to avoid getting in our sauce. Now, with this, you have to slowly add the clarified butter as you're whisking it. If you add too much, it'll split. So what we're working here is we want the egg yolks to absorb the butter as we add it and mix it through. And you'll see, just nice and slow. So I'm just going to keep slowly adding this while I whisk it. Not much exciting is happening here. This is such a labor intensive sauce, and the next time you go out and you look at a menu and you wonder why Eggs Benedict costs so much, you'll understand. And you can see as I'm getting down to the last bit, we're left with the milk solids down the bottom, and I'm just carefully tipping it in, making sure that they don't go in it. All right, so we are essentially done here. One last thing I will do is I will send producer for some water. Cold water's fine. Now, you can see here we've got a really thick sauce, and I just want to get it back to a consistency where when we put it on eggs, it's just going to coat, hit and run over the top. So that's our sauce there. I'm just going to taste it. Taste it. Probably needs a little bit more seasoning. Ooh. Can someone get me a spoon? I've got no spoon. So I've just seasoned that, mixed that through. And what is a perfect hollandaise sauce for coating eggs. It's creamy, it's sharp, it's not too acidic. That's how to do it.